accelerate up towards the start-finish line. We go green, and it is, as expected, Ben Hanley, who will lead down into turn number 1. A brilliant start by Tom Joyner. The Englishman is now up into position number 3. Leonardo Lorandi's in 5th. He'll be 6th if he can't hold that line. He just does hold on to 5th, but he's got a bad run out of the corner. Hanley already with a 4-kart lead over Hannes Janka. Martijn van Leeuwen also up there in the CRG. Brilliant start though by Tom Joyner. That's the Zanardi kart driver in position number 3. So it's the German sandwiched in between the 2 Englishmen. Joyner in the Zanardi kart. Over the back of the CRG of Hannes Janka. Martijn van Leeuwen also in the CRG. The driver from Holland, they've already completed 1 lap. The gap from your leader, Ben Hanley, is 0.8 of a second after just 1 lap. Joyner, van Leeuwen. Nicholas Nielsen's made up a couple of positions. There's Leonardo Lorandi going through in the blue and white Tony kart. He is in position number 5 after starting out of grid number 3. Hannes Janka holds down 2nd place from Tom Joyner. They accelerate through the infield part of the section. Look at the lead already from Benjamin Hanley. Hannes Janka 2nd. Up the inside goes Tom Joyner. It is now an English 1-2. Hannes Janka tries to respond. He gets a good run out of the corner, but he's going to come under attack from Martijn van Leeuwen, who himself is almost passed by Leonardo Lorandi at the tail of this bunch. That's Nicholas Nielsen. Now the Dane has finally found some speed in the 101 Tony kart. 2 laps and the gap is already 1.2 seconds from Benjamin Hanley to his countryman, Tom Joyner. Fastest lap already for the Russian, Alexander Vartanyan. But he's down the field quite considerably after starting out of grid number 9. Tom Joyner, 2nd place. There's the 2 Tony karts. The factory entry of Nicholas Nielsen, heading the blue and white baby race entry of the Italian Leonardo Lorandi. This is their 3rd of 20 laps. Up the inside goes Van Leeuwen, and he takes the German. The Dutchman in the CRG gets past the similar kart of Hannes Janka. Up the inside, Nicholas Nielsen. Oh, he had to think twice about it. He'll be lucky to hold this position. Indeed, he gets passed by Leonardo Lorandi. And look at what that's done. That's dragged Felice Tierney into this battle. He started out of grid number 7. He's gone past Nicholas Nielsen. This is a brilliant race already. The gap from Hanley to Joyner is 1.3 seconds. Hanley's not even in the screen. He's disappeared up the road, and Tom Joyner is trying to chase him down. It is Hanley from Joyner, Martijn van Leeuwen, Hannes Janka, Leonardo Lorandi, under attack from Felice Tierney. Nicely done by the Italian. The CRG driver started on the outside of the front row for the pre-final, remember. He's in the Perilla-powered CRG. There's Nicholas Nielsen in the factory Tony kart. Jordan Lennox-Lamb in the red and white Birrell Art kart. A brilliant start by the Englishman. He comes through at the tail of this battle. Have a look at the replay. Felice Tierney on his countryman. The best passing opportunity of the track, although you want to get it right because we've seen a couple of karts end up in the tyres where they've misjudged the passing move incorrectly. Lorandi a little bit defensive that time. Marco Dionysis fighting with Jordan Lennox-Lamb. They come through at the top of your screen. There's Nielsen behind a similar kart of Leonardo Lorandi. Already we are at quarter race distance. The gap from your leader, Benjamin Hanley, back to Tom Joyner, was 1.4 seconds last time round. We'll check it for you in a few moments' time as they cross the line to start their 5th lap. The 2 CRGs go through. Leonardo Lorandi a little bit sideways. Nicholas Nielsen now in the slipstream, 141 k's an hour right at this point of the circuit in the slipstream, but not enough to make a move on Leonardo Lorandi. Tuomas Happalainen now on the tail of Jordan Lennox-Lamb, who's made a sensational start. The Brit started out of grid number 20. The Birrell Art driver, Jordan Lennox-Lamb, is now in 9th. Right on the tail of this battle, Nielsen up the inside. Lorandi shuts the door. Meanwhile, Hannes Janka, Felice Tiene, and Martin van Leeuwen, they trade positions. 1.4 seconds remains the gap from your leader, Henley, to his countryman, Joyner. It's an all-England 1-2 as Nielsen tries the inside of Lorandi. There goes Marco Dionysis, the driver from Bucharest, Romania. Across the line one more time. The laps tick by very, very quickly as Tuomas Happalainen goes through in the other MC01 car. He's in position number 9. His teammate Ben Henley continues to lead. The gap stays 1.4 seconds as the two CRGs trade places. Hannes Janka, Felice Tiene, Martin van Leeuwen. Felice Tiene is now on the bottom step of the podium. The number 104 CRG. He's using the Perilla engine here this weekend. Hannes Janka, also with the Perilla, has to drive a little bit defensive. That's the Dutchman behind him, Martin van Leeuwen. Then it get back to Leonardo Lorandi, who's being hassled by the Dane. Nicholas Nielsen goes through on the inside of the Italian, drags through Marco Dionysis with him. Leonardo Lorandi's going to lose another place to the Finnish driver, Happalainen. Nielsen blocks the inside line. He's entitled to do that. Marco Dionysis has to try the high line, can't get past the Dane. This is a brilliant race. The gap between Henley and Joyner still 1.4 seconds. It has not moved. It's an all-England 1 and 2 with the Italian Felice Tiene in 3rd spot. There's Tiene. Tighter line at that time. Hannes Janka, Martin van Leeuwen, all these drivers on the CRG chassis. Martin van Leeuwen electing to use the TM engine. There goes Nicholas Nielsen through. Leonardo Lorandi, after looking at a podium earlier in this race, he's dropped down the field. I can tell you we've also lost Casper Ruud. We've lost a lot of time. He's down in position number 19. Started out of grid 6, was run wide on that previous lap. He's now 1 ahead of Richard Verschoor, who's made up 13 places, but he's still way, way down the field in position number 20, ahead of Johan Sousa, the local Portuguese driver, and the Kiwi, Marcus Armstrong. Approaching half race distance, a faultless drive thus far, but still 11 laps to go for this man, 30 years of age, from the United Kingdom. Very, very smooth on the steering wheel is Benjamin Hanley. Also racing the European KZ Championships across the line. The gap last time, 1.5 seconds. It's out to 1.6 seconds. Hanley's extending his lead. Surely we're going to see at least one Englishman on the podium. We may well see, and it's quite likely, an English victory here this afternoon. But as it stands, we've got a British 1 and 2. Henley from Joyner, Felice Tiene now with a little bit of breathing space. As you can see, over the German, Hannes Janka. Martin van Leeuwen from the Netherlands back in position number 5. Nicholas Nielsen started out of grid number 8. He's in 6th place ahead of Marco Dionysis, Yuri Vips. Tuomas Happalainen and Alexander Vartanyan has lost a spot. He rounds out the top 10. So we've got a Mad Croc, an MC01, a Zanardi kart, a CRG, another CRG. Then the Tony kart of Nielsen in position number 6. Marco Dionysis goes through. Juan Correa's driven a brilliant race also, almost unnoticed. There's the American flashing by, the Lotus F1 Team Junior driver for Energy Kart. Started out at grid number 21. He is now 11th. He's passed, on average, 1 kart per lap as the Russian Vartanyan sets fastest lap of the race. Well, the race has settled down just a little bit after a very frantic opening. There's Hanley. The most unusually named kart chassis in the field. We saw him racing in Napoli Sarno in the KZ European Gearbox Championships 2 weeks ago. On that occasion, he finished second to Flavio Camponeschi and ahead of the reigning world KZ champion Marco Ardigo. Yuri Vips flashes through behind Marco Dionysis. As we mentioned, Hanley, 30 years of age, just edges forward in the seat. He's super, super smooth. From the United Kingdom, a very long and distinguished career in both karts and cars. Factory driver with the Mad Croc team. Speaking of energy drinks, Richard Vashaw for RB Racing has made up 15 places. The Esprit driver is now in position number 18. Tom Joyner, he won the world title 2 years ago. He struggled in the WSK Supermaster Series at the start of the year. The Englishman obviously likes the sunshine because here in Portimao, he is flying. He's just set the fastest lap of the race. He is second. The gap, though, to the leader is 1.9 seconds. As Nielsen starts to close in a little bit on Martin van Leeuwen, the Dane behind the Dutchman. They go through the infield section of the circuit. Well, we've already had a few retirements in this race. We saw Leonardo Lorendi dicing for a podium spot. He's a retirement, as is Tom Bale. So we watch Felice Tieni on screen. Originally from Naples in Italy, as we mentioned, now lives in Desenzarno, just near Lake Garda in the north of his home country. Speaking of his home country, we've also lost the Italians Matteo Vigano and Lorenzo Travisanuto. Juan Correa, the American, flashes by in the energy kart. He's now up into position number 11 behind the Finn, Thomas Happalainen. Well, if Ben Henley was coasting, he's not anymore, because as we approach three-quarter race distance, the race leader has set the fastest lap of the race, a 57.154. Can he break into the 56s? That's the big question here this afternoon. I can't see him getting beaten by this point. Tom Joyner's driving the wheels off that Zanardi kart as Hannes Janka goes defensive. Van Leuven's behind him. Here comes Nicholas Nielsen. This is a four-way fight for third. 3 CRGs leading the factory Tony kart of Nicholas Nielsen. This is the final step of the podium here this afternoon. Yuri Vips flashes through. Carol Bash, a brilliant drive by the pole. Remember, we mentioned him at the start of the race. He started on the back of the grid. He is now up into position number 14, having passed 15 karts thus far with 6 laps remaining. Of course, valuable championship points before the series heads to the PFI circuit in Brandon, United Kingdom, before concluding in Kristianstad, Sweden in July. You're looking at the battle for the bottom step of the podium. Felice Tieni, Hannes Janka from Germany, Martin van Leeuwen, the Dutchman, leads Nielsen, Marco Dionysis. Yuri Vips also not out of it. Nor is the Russian Alexander Vartanyan. That's him in the blue race suit. The Ward Racing Tony kart. There's Juan Correa at the top of your screen. The black race suit driving the Energy Course chassis here for Michele Panagada's team. Well, catching Felice Tieni might be one thing, getting past him is something else. He's an exceptional pilot, is Felice, one of the most intelligent, well-considered racing drivers you would ever meet. He does what he needs to do to win. All his races are pre-planned. He's so methodical how he goes about his racing career as Nielsen gets very close to the back of Martin van Leuven. Very close to the back. He's up over the ripple strip. Nicholas Nielsen gave Martin van Leuven a real scare as Yuri Vips goes through in the Ricky Flynn Motorsport kart. He's under attack now by the Russian Alexander Vartanyan. Marco Dionysis in the other Tony kart goes by Nicholas Nielsen. Nielsen is now back into 7th. Yuri Vips from Estonia for Ricky Flynn Motorsport. And the two Tony kart drivers trying to work together, it would seem. Dionysis ahead of Nielsen on screen. Then it's Vips, Vartanyan, Thomas Happalainen in the Mad Croc kart. And speaking of Mad Croc, his teammate Ben Henley has 3.5 laps to go to win the opening round of the European Championships. Nielsen 101 from Yuri Vips for Ricky Flynn Motorsport, the team that dominated 2014. They won both junior and senior world championships with Enem Ahmed and Lando Norris. As Happalainen goes through, there's Juan Correa in the Blue Energy kart from the United States, the Lotus F1 team junior driver. He holds down position number 11. Vartanyan goes through, makes up a place. Nielsen started in grid 8, went up to 6th, and now he's still back in 8th position. Well, barring an absolute catastrophe, we're going to have an Englishman win here today. But further to that, we're going to have an English 1-2. Ben Henley now leads his countryman Tom Joyner by 2.7 seconds. Joyner has an almost 3-second lead back to Felice Tieni. Behind Tieni, there's Yanka, Martin van Leuven, Marco Dionysis. This battle that you can see on screen now. There's Correa. Jordan Lennox Lamb in the Birrell Art. He's had an eventful race. Started in 20th, got up to 10th. He's now back in 12th. Alexander Gadois from La France for VDK Racing in 16th place, I should say, one behind the Dutchman Richard Verschoor. Here comes Vartanyan up the inside of Vips. Vips shuts the door with a lap and a half to go for your race leader. They can't even see him. He's not even on your screen. His lead is now 3 seconds over Tom Joyner as Vips goes defensive on the Russian Alexander Vartanyan. This is a brilliant fight, but this is not even for the podium. Felice Tieni holds down the bottom step. Vartanyan on the inside of the Estonian Yuri Vips. He's in the slipstream, 141 k's an hour. Can't quite do it. Van Leuven, the last of a trio of CRGs with Tieni and Yanka, but no one's going to stop this man. He's on his final lap. Well, perhaps it's ironic that we're going to have an Englishman win. We're going to have an English 1-2. There are more English people in the seaside town of Portimao than any other part of Europe. You walk down the main street, English, sterling pounds, that's the language, that's the currency. This man's going to take a sensational win. The last lap board is out. The checkered flag comes out for Ben Henley. He wins the opening round of the European Championships. His countryman Tom Joyner makes it an English 1 and 2.